We're kind of winging this one tonight. It falls into the category of timing is everything.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Loyal viewers will be reminded that we tape our broadcast that you see on Friday and Sunday on the various channels owned by this great Nexstar company on Thursdays. It is, well, someone messed with the clock, but I know it's 1 o'clock on, somebody messed with the clock, by the way. It is 1 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. The jury is deliberating. By the time you've seen this show, the jury still might have been deliberating and took a break for the weekend. The judge may have asked the jury to stay for the weekend. I doubt that, but there might be a verdict one way or the other. So why are we talking about it? Because it's such a pressing matter politically, and I can't keep my terrific guest on hold forever, because I'm thinking when this whole thing comes down, I need to talk to Joe about it. And so you're going to hear from Joe about it. Joe Cammarano, my friend from the Political Science Department at Providence College, of course. So I don't really have a big startup here today. It's when Joe and I get together, we just kind of shoot the breeze anyway and for your behalf. So here's a headline. Jury deliberations during the Trump trial are ongoing, no doubt. Just throw that up, Eric, if you can. Thank you very much. And this is one thing, by now you probably know that Donald Trump is not my hero, but this is one thing that I certainly do agree with him on. Roll this.
There's no case, there's no crime. It's a disgrace that it was allowed to happen.
Actually, that's not anywhere near the we're having one of those kind of days. That is not the audio that I thought I would hear. The audio that I thought would hear is that it's a very sad day. Do we have that one? Or just
see how it goes.
There we go.
This is a very dangerous day for America. It's a very sad day.
Yes, okay. We can agree on that. White out to Joe, and let's just have some fun with this broadcast. Great to see you, my friend.
Good to be here.
Kind of a herky-jerky start, but you and I roll with the punches. I didn't know what to do. I said, hey, get Joe on hold. See, he's a very busy guy, very busy guy. I don't know if this jury thing is going to come down. We were thinking about it last week, and as the procedures go, and then the jury has more questions, like they did on Wednesday afternoon into Thursday morning, it obviously delays their deliberations from a moving forward point of view. Obviously, they need a lot of clarification. So we're going to have to do the what if it this and what if it that and blah 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 and yada yada yada. What's your overall take on status as we sit here unknowing as to the verdict?
Well, I've served on juries, and I have great faith in jury decisions, and I will honor them, regardless of whether they turn out the way I want them to. And I think that this particular trial, I've been keeping close tabs on it, has been extraordinarily well run by the judge, Rashan. And I think the jury clearly is attentive and careful. And it's a very complex case. There are 34 counts. And if they went in a day or two, that would mean that they really weren't paying attention to detail. And so I think this is a good sign that it may go through the weekend.
Well, I'm watching my phone because, the way it goes with me, as soon as we end a broadcast that has some kind of a timing issue, something,
that's why I said May.
something determinate happens. Wouldn't it be cool if while we're recording we actually go, oh, this just in.
But this is the type of thing that makes me feel better about this country, but also more concerned, because I do think that Donald Trump has done everything he can to undermine our faith in the judicial process. And if we don't have faith in the judicial process, we don't have the rule of law. If we don't have the rule of law, we're going to dissolve into chaos or authoritarianism.
So, look, you and I have done literally dozens of shows trying to analyze thought process, motive, all those kind of things with the former president. I was listening to Mr. Scaramucci as I was driving in earlier today, who's done an interesting 180 on the president and has had this, kind of a position working against him for quite some time. He's the guy that came in was his comms director for, I think, what, 4 days or something like that.
11 days.
11 days. So Long Island guy, I kind of relate to him. You know, tri-state guy. You and I, Jersey guys, we kind of relate. You know, I got family in Long Island. They all kind of talk the same. And I
Punches above his weight.
absolutely, all that kind of stuff. I get a kick out of him. But he's saying, listen, one of the reasons why I continue to speak out against Donald Trump and talk about the way he thinks, because I know him, meaning he, know him intimately, is because of this thing you're talking about, and this rundown on the justice system, and what he considers to be the manipulative, complete unfairness to America. In fact, he called it un-American. Half the country doesn't care.
40%.
Okay, 40% of the country doesn't care. That's political science that will be studied forever. Tell me more now, as you're in the throes of this, watching this as an educator, as a researcher, as a true political scientist. And by the way, expertise matters, and there is, while this kind of science may not, boost a rocket to NASA, there's a legitimacy to the term political science. Tell me why, after all this time, 40% of America doesn't care that the structure of institutions like the justice system are decimated daily by him.
I don't think they understand fully the potential damage that's done simply to save the person they like or that they're supporting, or the person who hates the people they don't like. And so I think that that's the big challenge. And the reality is political science has had a long period, almost 10 years now, of trying to come to grips with all of the knowledge that we have from all this social science research for 70 years no longer applies. And so we used to say, well, people become more open-minded and racially tolerant when they have work people or neighborhood people who are different than them. That's not true anymore. People would vote their interests. That's not true anymore. They're voting their passions. They're voting their emotions. And Trump has figured that out.
What's the difference between interest and passion?
Interest assumes there's a certain rational motive to the way that people make their decisions. So you vote for Trump, not necessarily because you like him, and there are people who do that, but because Trump's positions, which he doesn't really have any. He keeps spouting whatever he thinks.
That's the default argument, Trump's positions. And then I peck through them, and there's not a long list.
There aren't any. He's going to punish everybody who hurt him, because that's what megalomaniacal people do. But the reality is that people used to say, this is what I want. I want low taxes, or I want good schools, or I want a country that isn't at war all the time. And so I'm voting for this candidate because their positions will do that. That's rationality. A passion is where your emotions take over, your affect takes over, and you vote impulsively, and you vote often against your actual rational interest. And that's what's been happening with Trump, and we have to do some research to figure why. We think it's fragmentation of media. Most people no longer get information from the same place. And they pick and choose, and they reinforce using all those psychological sort of concepts that we study to make decisions that are hurting them in the long run.
I was listening to a broadcast a couple of weeks ago on one of the cable stations. Admittedly, I think it was MSNBC, and there was somebody on there talking about this, very dynamic. And his name escapes me. I'd quote him if I could, but he said something really fascinating. He said, listen, if you're a fan of Michigan, if you're a Wolverine, and of course you could take this to the Patriots and the Yankees and the Giants and the Red Sox and the Bruins, but more so, he was talking about university politics, university sports, that you're built in, born in, bred in, eat, sleep, and drink the Wolverines, or the Buckeyes, or the Spartans, or the Fighting Irish, or whoever it happens to be. And your association with that brand is so thick that there's nothing that happens inside that brand that will move you off being a passionate association with that brand.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have decided that you were a Donald Trump person for reasons that may have been rational early on,
mm-hmm.
but you came into a loyalty there, it is unshakable because our party politics and our person politics are so thick with that self-identity that it's inextricable or inextractable.
Yeah, it's
does
become
that make
a
sense?
faith. It's become a faith instead of sort of a tangible human endeavor. So it's become a system of beliefs that are unchallenged. You can't challenge them or unchallenged because to challenge them would mean to question every single tenet, and so therefore you just take it on faith. That's what we do with our religious tradition, and that's what we should be doing with our religious tradition. But human endeavors are fallible, and so it's not really very healthy for very long to treat partisanship like a faith, like an identity that so defines you that you can't let go of it. That's the problem, and it's a little less problematic on the left, but it's there on the left too.
Mm. Yeah, no doubt. Okay, when we come back, what is the application of this particular trial, on all of this, whether it goes one way or the other? Stay with us.
Other to racing without discharges, but we'll see. We'll see how we do.
This is the fascinating thing with the former president. He sets up the situation that there's no possible way he could win. Look, it doesn't bother me when sports coaches and athletes in mind games talk about the chance that there's no way we can beat this team. There's all sorts of reasons why low expectations can actually enhance performance, relax you from the stress of. In this particular case, we have a trial that he can't win. We have an election that was rigged and is still going to be rigged. We have institutions that are deep state and aren't fair. So, and the list goes on. And so when things don't turn out well for him, he relies on the foundational assumption that he's made, and he's got people swallowing and drinking the Kool-Aid. And if it turns out well, guess what? Either it was an upset and circumstances were so incredibly in his favor that even these rigged operations couldn't withstand it, or he just ignores it and says, you know what, told you so. It's such an intellectually dishonest position, and I wonder why most of America doesn't buy into it. I mean, doesn't get it and say, wait a second here.
Well, yeah, I think going back to the literature on what we call presidential character, this is how Donald Trump had his first self-perceived success, by essentially lying through his teeth and getting away with it. And the literature suggests that the way you succeed the first time in public life becomes the model that you repeat over and over and over again. And so, he did it early on in his career, probably when he was a teenager. I know he's done it as a real estate developer. You and I both grew up watching this guy grow up. He's not going to change. And so what he's doing is he's reassuring himself that if he loses, it's not his fault. And so, just like he talks about Joe Biden or anybody, he's really talking about himself. Everything he says is about
To your
himself,
point, yesterday on the radio, he
not
suggested,
about his opponents.
To your point, on the radio yesterday, he called Biden and his administration fascists.
Yeah.
So I go to the dictionary for everybody and explain what a fascist is. His description, anybody who objectively takes a look at the way he operates would if it was a choice between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, 9 out of 10 people say, of course Donald Trump is the fascist, or has fascist instincts. But he doesn't even understand the definition, nor does he actually care, because he knows it's a derogatory term, and as long as people kind of buy into it, it doesn't really matter what the details are, correct?
If anyone who's had 2 children within a few years of each other understands that when someone yells, "Ma" or "Dad, he's hitting me," or "Ma and Dad, he's bothering me," the other one will say what? No,
I
you're
didn't.
bothering
Yeah,
me.
right.
He's bothering me. That's what Trump does. That's his it's pre-adolescent behavior that's so deeply encoded in his personality that it's never going to go
All
away.
right, so there's some viewers watching the show going, you know what, get a new act, you two.
Yeah,
You know, get a new act, you two. I mean,
Donald
I've
Trump
seen
gets
this
a new
guy-
act, I will.
Right, at
Yeah.
some juncture, you got to kind of go,
How many
why,
times do we have to tell you? This man is going to destroy your way of life if you allow him.
Well, you know, and that's where I start to wonder. Something tells me that he's on somewhat of a self-destructive path. I don't know what happens. Should he get elected? We'll have plenty of time between now and November to. We don't do predictions here anymore.
He
but
just needs to get to tomorrow. That's all he ever thinks about, getting to tomorrow.
well, if he gets to tomorrow, and again, we're at a deficit here because we're taping on Thursday. We don't know what the verdict is. Likely you do by now. Well, maybe not. You think it could go Monday, Tuesday?
I think it could go long. It's 34 counts, and you got to go through it carefully.
Yeah, and if there's an
We
Allen
took 2
charge,
days
it'll be
for a very simple case.
If there's an Allen charge, again, we're using vapor here that's probably inefficient because you already know what happened. But if the judge has to tell the jury that can't agree to go back and work harder, it's only going to add more fuel to the fire here. I was hoping, by the way, that if the judge was prepared for an immediate sentence as opposed to setting sentencing for 10 or 30 days, because the roll up to that would be just excruciating if he got convicted. Should he go to jail? Should he not go to jail? And all the pressure about that. Throw him in the can for a day or two,
Yeah, but criminal process requires a pre-sentencing report.
Yeah.
And that's done by a probation officer.
Well, there are some folks in New York law who say that he can be prepared at least for some preliminary action,
Okay.
and the Secret Service is wondering whether or not he's going to go to jail for a night or two anyway.
I got to be honest. That doesn't matter to me. I actually don't want him to go to jail.
I don't
because
either.
then he becomes a martyr, and then it becomes even more dangerous.
But there's
People might take
a
law and get
conviction,
it.
again, wasted space, but I can't help myself. Does a conviction really do what the polls say it will, and that is shave 10% favorability off both Republican and independent voters?
It's tough to make that call. The way polling questions are asked these days and the samples that they have, we're seeing snapshots, and the snapshots are no good once you take them. And so by the time we share the results, people have moved on.
So let's talk about the snapshots. Joe Biden, we have a headline here, black voters, he's in trouble right now. 1849, he's losing black voters under 50 by percentages that are still super majorities, but enough to nip at his heels here and create some real internal down to the wire problems in swing states.
And yet, he's actually beating Trump among people over 65, which is a complete reversal. And there are more of those.
And they come out more.
They come out.
Listen, you've defended Joe Biden's candidacy here in the past. I have to tell you, I'm just fit to be tied on this kamikaze mission that he is on. It just feels like a kamikaze mission to me, and it's one of those things where, as strongly as I feel about Donald Trump, the assumption by people is, well, why do you love Joe Biden so much? I don't. I think he should. If he'd left after 4 years, history would have treated him really well.
I agree.
In real time, not so much, but history would have. And now he's putting the nation at risk, it seems to me. And
I agree. And again, this is his personality flaw. From everything I know, Biden is thoroughly convinced that he's the only one who can prevent Trump from getting back into the White House. He's wrong about that, but he's insistent on it. He won't change on that. I wish.
And we are in the too late category now.
Yeah, it's too late. It's too late. Unless he keels over.
Oh my gosh, Joe.
No, I don't want him to keel over. I want him to live to be 110. But, that's the only way it's not going to happen. Want some good news?
Yes.
The government in Ohio, the state government in your alma mater state, did the right thing with the law governing whether or not he can be on the ballot. They're changing the law so that he will be on the ballot in Ohio, even though the Secretary of State wouldn't give him an exemption.
Well, speaking of those trying to get on the ballot, he's on a handful.
And they're Republicans. That's the good thing. That's what America's supposed to be.
All right. RFK is trying to get into the debate scene. He's he's not going to be on every ballot in every state. This guy is like on the sidelines running his own little soap opera. The name, if his name wasn't Kennedy, he wouldn't get any recognition. What in heaven's name is his role right now? And who does he hurt?
My current view of this is that he is extremely persuasive among young people. And so the Biden campaign should be terrified of Kennedy staying on the ballot. He's got a message that I think resonates with young people, and young people don't know much else. They see a cool guy, and it's like...
I had actually, my bad, I haven't counted to see what states he isn't on. It's just he's on in about...
He's still working on it.
But if he gets on, is he on every swing state ballot? Because
he's almost there, yeah.
Well, does he deserve to be in a debate?
Only if he polls 10%.
He's close.
Yeah, if he gets 10%, he should be on the stage.
Do you think that debate on June 27th is going to happen? I'm not so sure.
I'm not going to make a prediction. I would normally say yes, and it's going to be kind of a train wreck. It's going to be, they're going to cut the mic, and Trump is going to walk over to Biden's mic and talk from there. But yeah, I think it will, but we'll see. The problem is Donald Trump says he's going to do stuff and then doesn't do it. We all know that, and so I wouldn't be surprised if it's canceled.
All right. World Affairs will cover the whole thing in just a minute's time. Stay with us. Yeah, and then there's this. Look, your campus has thankfully not had a lot of turmoil over the Palestinian situation, but I got 30 seconds. This is a real issue, a real point of contention where Joe Biden seems to be, damned if he does, damned if he doesn't the entire way.
Right, and that's why I think Kennedy is a big threat to him, because there will be an alternative voice talking about the progressive foreign policy that Biden refuses to take.
Robert Kennedy can't win this race.
No, he can't.
So what in heaven's name is he doing? I mean, his family can't even get him out of the deal. I mean, speaking of this notion of what's best for America, does anybody care anymore?
85 years ago, a guy named Harold Lasky wrote a book called The Pathology of Politics, and he basically said that most politicians get in it because they have unmet psychological needs. And I think Kennedy and Trump and Biden all fit that to different degrees.
What does that say about the democracy and it being the best system in the world?
No, it's the worst system except for every other one.
And we'll leave it there. Only a political scientist
Winston
can come
Churchill.
up with that. Oh, it was him? Oh, well, you barred.
And Disraeli.
All right, good footnote. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Obviously, in real time on the radio, you'll be following the jury verdict at all. Next week, the U.S. Attorney will be here to talk about investigations on two important cases, including that larceny at the post office and some challenges with D.C. White House. See you.